Which word of the day? Today's word is Lupercalia, noun. Lupercalia was a pastoral festival of ancient Rome, observed annually on February 15th to purify the city, promoting health and fertility. The general practice was that each Lupercalia began with the sacrifice of goats and a dog, after which 2 of the priests were led to the altar. Their foreheads were touched with a bloody knife, and the blood was wiped off with wool dipped in milk. The ritual required that the 2 young men laugh. The sacrificial feast followed, after which the Luperci cut thongs from skins of the sacrificial animals and ran in 2 bands around the Palatine Hill, striking with the thongs at any woman who came near them. A blow from the thong was supposed to render a woman fertile. It's thought Lupercalia took place to honor the she-wolf that cared for their ancestors and pleased the Roman fertility god Lupercus.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series. Hello, Spellworders! We are on episode 15, chapter 14. Because we have a bonus episode in there. So now this is actually our 15th episode. But we are on book 14, Date with Death. And yeah, not too much to say, not too much to announce today. I just want to remind people about the Ultimate Power Challenge that I proposed. And this is the one to see if you can tell me how many times a main character was arrested. And what I mean by that, let me clarify that again. I'm asking for you to tell me when somebody was jailed, so they had to have gone to jail, and they have had to have been a regular character. Anybody who has appeared in the main credits at any point in time. So I'm not counting people trapped in a cage. I'm not counting people being held against their will. I am not counting somebody who was arrested but not jailed. So keep that in mind. Compared to our last Ultimate Power Challenge, when I got 1 response, I have gotten already like 10 responses. So people are interested in this one, which is cool. You have until the end of the month to submit them. And you can either email me at wordsofwitchespod@gmail.com or direct message me on Instagram. And I will definitely consider you for the challenge. Yeah. And now we'll get on with this episode. Brittany is back. Yes, from all the way from episode 2.
You've had a venture so far.
Yeah. I mean, I was still fresh, and every day I'm learning and growing, and it's always great to have you around. Any life updates?
Not really so much in like the personal life. I will say that we ran into some issues with this book because I didn't have it. I didn't have my collection complete. I didn't have it. So after this initial rigmarole that we went through just to get the book, right, which I don't even have that initial order of just the individual book yet.
That's crazy.
And that was the first one that I ordered. And I ended up ordering all the other books to complete my collection. Now I'm only missing 3, to come in.
Right.
So
you recently went to a convention with Billy Zane and Scout Taylor Compton. So talk about that a little bit.
It was one of those things that I was very excited to go and I didn't know what to expect. Billy Zane is more of a actor that's known for different things. He's not just a charmed, that's not his known for role. Right.
Right.
So going in front of those kind of people, you're just I don't know if you're going to think I'm crazy just because this is the only reason I want to talk to you. He was just as charismatic in person as he is in any role you see him in, but he did talk to me a lot about Charmed and his time there and a few different things that I thought were noteworthy. He said that initially his role was supposed to be just a one-off bad guy, and it was a completely different role. And he convinced the writers on the show to kind of give him more of a storyline. And he was telling me that anything he came up with, they would let him do. So his idea was to have this demon start teaching at magic school and to bring in this Broadway stuff. So we see a bit of that on screen. And, the song that he sings. At
his sister. Yeah.
Yes.
Lisa Zane. Yes.
I was like, wow. So it was just like those cool things. And I was telling him, I was like, look, if they were allowing you to do all of these different things, you should have convinced them to let you stay on.
Right. You should have been the end game. Like, for real.
Right. I really could have seen Phoebe and him as in game.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were a good couple.
The first scene he was on, he stole the show, and you fall in love with him right away. So, and then we had our fairy princess too. So.
Yeah. She honestly, that was another thing. Like, Billy's role is bigger, in the show, so he has more recollection of being there, right?
Right.
And so I went up to Scout and I was like, I'm probably going to be the most random person that comes up to you. But as soon as she saw me, she saw my book in my arms, and she goes, "Oh my God, is that the Book of Shadows?" And I was like, "Yes." So she recognized that. So I felt really special because, she's more known for her role in
horror
Halloween
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I know this is probably going to be really random. And I was talking to her about her time on the show, and she was like, no, I loved it there. And we were talking about her reoccurring roles. And I told her that the fairy CGI stuff was used in 8 different episodes. And she was like, I don't think I got compensated.
Right. I didn't get paid for that. Right.
And I was like, well, you can IMDb it, but those were the episodes that you were in.
Yeah, all just using that stock footage, right? That's
right. And she was geeking out about my book, which I have a video posted up on my Instagram that she took with her phone. And it was just a special moment. So I'm really glad that I went. It was very nice. I can't wait to go to more.
And your Instagram is doing very well. Your Charmed Collector Instagram, which is cool.
Yeah. So the first episode that I was on, I had just started it. I didn't really even have any content on it. So I kind of started it around the same time as your podcast. And now we're both kind of growing.
Reconvening, it's great. I wanted to say something because on our last episode, Kiss of Darkness, we talked about how we didn't know when or if Victor knew Patty, when Victor found out Patty was a witch.
Yes.
But I was going back into it, and we actually find out in The Good, the Bad, and the Curse that he didn't know until after they were married.
Yeah. After
Prue was born. So between Prue and Piper were born is when he found out.
That's a really inconvenient time.
Right.
Just trapped in the marriage.
It's like, gotcha. Yeah, I gotcha now. So this book is called Date with Death. And the author is Elizabeth Leonard. She also wrote Soul of the Bride and did the novelization for Charmed Again. And this was published September 1st, 2002 with a reprint November 4th, 2002. And it is supposed to be set between Lost and Bound, season 4, episode 12, and Charmed and Dangerous, season 4, episode 13, because Phoebe is engaged to Cole, but Cole is still human. So no source powers yet.
It's an interesting time. I'm kind of glad that they plugged that in.
So the cover is some season 4 pictures. They're individual shots that are kind of just put together. It has these little emoji things in the background, like a little email symbol and a little broken heart symbol. And then the tagline, "A vengeful suitor weaves a web of lies."
I love this kind of demonic looking angel statue.
Yeah, on the back. Most of the time, the back of the book doesn't really have much interesting stuff, but in the back, they have this demonic angel statue, which is crazy. I wonder if it's friends with the gargoyles.
I don't know. It's a bit off-putting, though.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it.
The back of the book says, "Take this soul who seeks revenge, bind him from his cruel intent. With this spark, consign his soul to the haze of his own hell." That doesn't really rhyme, but sure, we'll go with it. As Piper and Leo contemplate parenthood, and Phoebe and Cole enjoy their engagement, Paige is feeling more of a push to find a significant other. In a moment of whimsy, she signs up for an online dating service. Needless to say, she soon finds herself flooded with eager responses. Almost every night, she embarks on a new date that seems to lead nowhere, despite the fact that Paige has a perfectly good time when she's out. Or does she? Before long, the sisters discover that Paige spends her dates in a catatonic trance. She hasn't actually gone anywhere. Soon afterward, her suitors are discovered to have committed evil acts. Paige is acting as a conduit for dark powers, and soon she is projecting her energies onto her sisters. Will Piper and Phoebe be able to save her using only the power of 2?
So, chapter 1, we open up with Phoebe at a random coffee shop that was not ever mentioned until just now, called City Drip. And apparently she had gone there throughout her college days, but we never saw that in the show. So, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But she is in the place where, Cole and her are engaged, and kind of plays on Phoebe's, insecurities about marriage and being a wife. She's trying to figure out how does this marriage thing go? Like, how do weddings go? And so she's reading a lot of books and magazines to prepare for the wedding. And as she's flipping through these books and kind of getting frustrated and overwhelmed, she runs into these old college classmates their names are Missy and Carla. And they find Phoebe going through these books and find out miraculously about Phoebe's engagement, which they didn't know about because they weren't great friends. The girls you love to hate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the friends mention that they're single for Valentine's Day, but they just signed up for this new website called kiss.com. And they're trying to get some dates. So Phoebe kind of makes up an excuse to leave because she doesn't really want to be there.
Yeah, she's like, oh God, these girls.
Yeah.
Hi.
She's over them in less than 5 minutes. She can't stand them.
Yeah.
So she then leaves, and we jump to the manor, and Paige comes into the kitchen, and Piper's cooking dinner, and Piper is going through these like kind of insecure feelings about being old and being an old married wife between like her and Leo, because they do come from different eras. Right. And a lot of traditional things that Leo is accustomed to in a marriage, things have changed, but he's the meat and potatoes kind of guy. There's nothing wrong.
Right. She's like, I make the same dinner every night. He just wants the same thing.
Which would be easy, but I could see, Piper being a chef getting frustrated at that.
Right.
She's like, I want to make fun things.
I know. Do you know all my capabilities? I can do so much more.
Right? Like, come on, Leo, let's have sushi sometime.
Yeah.
So Piper's just going through it. She's feeling a bit old, and kind of it's a repetitive thing between her and Leo right now. Phoebe comes in as Paige is just being so dramatic about her dating troubles right now because she's now in a house with 2 solid relationships, and she is the 5th wheel out, which they play along that kind of storyline a lot in the show. So yeah. I could see that. And she just wishes that she could find the perfect guy to date. And Phoebe's like, oh, wait, well, there's these 2 random chicks that I just ran into in the coffee shop, and they're now doing kiss.com, so you can do it. And Cole and Leo come in for dinner, and Paige ends up signing up for kiss.com, which I think is kind of a funny thing, the dynamic playing between Phoebe and Paige, because Phoebe's like so excited about this stuff. And I think it's like a little bit of an escape for her because she's now looking down the barrel of a daunting marriage that she doesn't know how to deal with. And so she's kind of living vicariously.
Exactly. She's like, oh, the good old days. Oh, the good old days.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that one of her classmates, college mates, was named Missy because that was that was the same like bitch chick from Piper's reunion.
Yeah. Name. I wonder if they're the same,
I know. Maybe they went. Who knows? That'd be funny.
As Paige is going through kiss.com and she's coming upon all of these things, flashes start emerging as she's clicking to confirm dates.
Yes.
And then
click flash. Oh, I'm a little dizzy. Oh, okay. Chapter 2 takes place a few days later, and Paige is just like, why did I sign up for that stupid dating site? She was just too afraid to check it. She hasn't checked it since she signed up. But Piper's like, hey, you already signed up. Just give it a try. Go check it out some more. And then Paige goes on, and then she sees that she's got all these messages from people. And she's like, oh, all right. I'll set up a date with you. Oh, no, not you. You're creepy. I don't like you. So she's like really doing the browsing thing. She becomes a little obsessed. But she arranges dates with several men who caught her interest. And then Piper and Leo start to worry Paige is doing too much too fast. She's like, wow, I encourage you to go on maybe a few days, but you're a little crazy. But Phoebe's like, she's like, don't listen to them, Paige. You're doing everything just right. It's called playing the field. And Piper and Leo have like a cute, mushy conversation about being in love and like, we're great together. But then Piper realizes that she's tired of playing the homemaker wife every day. So she's like, all right. Piper, she's like, I'm gonna go to the computer and print some recipes, but then she gets tempted by the clickbait over there. She's like, oh, the quizzes about how to get your relationships out of a rut. Okay, these look fun. I'll print these out and we'll take these later. And then Phoebe is helping Paige get ready for her date. They're in the bedroom. Apparently, Paige's date tonight is one of Phoebe's exes, Josh. How coincidental. But apparently, Phoebe broke up with him about 5 years ago because he started to seem distant, which does kind of check out because this is season 4. It'll be before she went to New York. So the timing is right. Cole wanders in the bedroom and he's like, hey, who's Josh? And Phoebe's like, oh, nobody. It's just a date that Paige is going on. Nothing to worry about there.
We don't need to talk about it. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
Paige is at P3 with this random Josh dude who apparently has connections with Phoebe out of nowhere. But she's not feeling any connection. She's more concerned because Josh seems like a great guy, but she's not interested. And she's not enjoying herself. So the night kind of ends in like an awkward situation. She's like, well, I think I should like this guy, but I really don't. He's cute, but he's not holding my interest.
Yeah.
She goes and has a few more dates. And Paige calls Phoebe and tells her that Kiss.com just sucks. It's like, I'm going on all these dates, but I'm not really interested. They're kind of just fizzling out. And she says every date is just as empty feeling as the last. And then Paige goes on a new date with this Max Wolf character, and she is completely captivated. And the night ends amazingly, and they made plans to see each other again. And she's super excited about this because she's like, well, this guy is holding my interest. Well, maybe this is, a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the end all be all, right? So we switch over to Piper and Leo. And they are doing questions from the quizzes that Piper had printed out to save her marriage, apparently. And Leo just hates it. Like, he's like, I don't understand why we're doing this. This is the stupidest questions you could ask me. Like, I'm not going to tell you what kind of tree you are.
Right.
Stupid. Piper's just determined to do these quizzes. The interesting happen, I guess. And Phoebe is just laughing about the whole situation.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And Paige walks in and Phoebe greets her after her date. And Paige is like, Max Wolf is the one. And she's canceling the rest of her dates. Like, she's done. This is the guy. After one date, this is the guy. And Piper and Leo they end up giving each other the silent treatment because now Piper's frustrated because Leo doesn't want to do it.
Right.
Because she wants him to do it. It's
it's so funny.
Honestly, it is a thing that just happens in marriage. And then Phoebe tells Paige that she should keep going on dates so that Max knows that she is popular and will want her more, right? Make him desperate. Phoebe's into playing the field.
She really is. So you gotta keep doing it. Yeah.
Yes, keep going. And Cole asks questions about Phoebe's love life, and it makes Phoebe so uncomfortable, which is interesting to me that they haven't had these conversations before. Like, guys, you're getting married. Like, you should have some conversations.
It's a little late for this, yeah.
Right? I am interested to know, like, what Cole's dating life. I mean, I know that he was a demon, but he was interested in somebody somewhere, right? At least I know he says that demons don't love. Lust. But who did he hook up with? I want to know. So Phoebe touches Paige's Palm Pilot, and she gets a series of premonitions of girls being killed after being kissed. And that's where we
yes. So that freaks them out, and Piper immediately calls Daryl about the premonitions, and he arrives at the manor and he confirms that there were actually 3 murders last night, and the girls had their hearts ripped from their chests. Lovely stuff. Yeah, amazing. What's even crazier is that Carla, one of the girls from the beginning, Phoebe's classmates, was one of the victims, which is like, oh man, okay, so we got a connection. Okay. And they realize Kiss.com is the connection between all of the murders. And then they know that Paige is on it now. It's like, oh, so maybe Paige can find out what's happening. So Leo suggests that Paige go on her next date. They're all like, yeah, get out there and date. But he's going to go and back her up. He's going to keep a watchful eye and be there in case anything crazy goes down, in case somebody tries to kill you and stuff.
You're bait, but I'll watch your back.
Exactly. Piper and Phoebe scry and look at the Book of Shadows for the demon or for any kind of evil, but they're not getting any luck. While they're doing that, Paige and Leo return after like a really short amount of time. They were barely gone and they're back. And they're saying it was like the most boring thing ever. Like nothing happened. They're just sitting there. Paige was kind of disinterested in the guy. So
I have a note for this part of the chapter.
Okay.
She's on a date with this vet, and she comes back with a bunch of spaying and neutering.
That's right.
Which to me is like, okay, interesting. I've never known somebody to bring whatever your profession is, and it's like, hey, nice to meet you.
Have a coupon.
Have a coupon. Then they bring up the fact that, it's fine because they have a cat. Okay, it's a Siamese cat, but they call it Sweetie. It's not Kit, which to me is like, okay, Kit's not in the show at this point.
No.
I mean, and they said that she had run away in season 5, episode 18, Cat House. So she wasn't there. So who is this other Siamese cat named Sweetie? That is their familiar because they keep calling her.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that. I just assumed it was Kit.
No, it says Sweetie. It's on page 53.
Oh my gosh, let me look at this. This is crazy.
I flagged a bunch of like these weird, inconsistent things throughout the book.
Oh yeah, and Sweetie is capitalized. Here I thought it was just like calling the cat Sweetie because, oh, Sweetie, like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that is weird.
So they now have a new cat? I don't know.
Right, because I believe the last time we see Kit in the series was Look Who's Barking.
Yeah, I think that was, other than when they bring her back.
Yeah, right. But before she runs away.
Right. She wasn't there.
Yeah. We know that Paige saw Kit before she always saw her outside the apartment.
Right.
But
she didn't bring her back to the manor.
No. Oh, that even bothers me even more now because I was going to say that, Kit's there. How cool. But they totally call it Sweetie. Weird. And I didn't put two and two together. That's so funny.
This is not the first time in the book that this happens. I'll point it out again later. But
yeah, I looked at the end too when they talk about it with the cat carrier. I looked at the end. They say it's Sweetie. So weird. Oh, so since they're not any closer to finding the demon, they make Paige go to P3 as bait again. They're like, well, if the demon's out there, it's probably going to be at P3. So just go do that. Lure it to you, and we'll watch for it. And at P3, Paige flirts with a guy who she felt had demonic potential. I was like, this guy's creepy looking. Okay, let's flirt with him. And they leave the club together. But as they left the door, the guy Paige was with was thrown away. And Josh is there. He's like, hey, that guy's scum. Come date with me again. And so Josh tells Paige he really liked her. And then his arm turned into this metallic claw. And he goes to like attack Paige. A silvery nail like pierces Paige's skin, so she's cut now. But then Phoebe comes and she goes, hiya! And she kicks him in the head.
The atypical Phoebe holler.
Exactly. That's her thing. And I don't know if she actually said hiya on the book, but that's just me applying it.
Did.
Okay. And then Phoebe stops fighting though when she sees that it's Josh. She's like, oh, Josh? And then she stops altogether and Piper's gonna blow him up, and Phoebe's like, no. And then Cole's like, why are you saving this guy? Like, I guess you don't love me anymore. He's all butthurt over him. Like, yeah. And then Josh gets away. So lovely times there.
It is very interesting to see Cole in this book. There's a lot of different emotions that we don't really see in the show from him. I kind of like the way that she's writing Cole's character because it gives him a little bit more. I mean,
humanity. Yeah,
he's human right now, so we're seeing a little bit more of that. Before he turns into the source.
Right.
So chapter 5. So Piper's really mad at Phoebe right now because Phoebe let this demon Josh get away after hurting Paige. And so Leo heals Paige from her cut, Luckily, her heart's still intact.
Mhm.
Phoebe said that it just caught her off guard seeing him. Like she wasn't expecting it. But Cole is really upset. He's really butthurt.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that too is because she pretty much did the exact same thing with Cole when she saved him.
Right.
It's like, oh, so it's okay for me, but not for this other guy.
Jealous. He's so jealous.
It's a very Prue and Tom kind of situation, isn't it? With wrestling with demons. See, I don't think Phoebe has any feelings for him really. I think it was just more of like her being a human, like her empathy for other people. She this is somebody she knew in life. She cares for his well-being. You know, maybe there's something more to it, you know? So
yeah, and she also refers to him sort of like the one who got away.
Yes.
So there's a little bit deeper feelings there. So it could be playing on that. I know she broke up with him because he kind of became distant.
Yeah.
Apparently to her, the relationship was great up until then. So she's like, well, what happened? So
there's no closure. That's what it is. It's like there's still this unresolved issues.
So after Cole is kind of just throwing a little bit of a temper tantrum because he's so butthurt, Leo and Cole, they leave, and you know he's just an orb away, but they can go deal with things. So Phoebe remembers where Josh's apartment is, which after how many years have they been broken up?
5 years.
You know?
I mean, in San Francisco, people move all around all the time. Like,
right. Just conveniently.
You're lucky.
He's still there. Don't worry. And at the apartment, Phoebe kicks the door down. And it looks like Josh has found a new victim in the, how many minutes has it been since?
I know. What, 10 minutes probably?
He just picked up a random girl off the street and is like, come here.
Come with me. Let's make out.
Yeah. So Piper freezes the scene as, you know, Josh's claws are kind of out and the girl is panicking, this poor victim. And Piper and Phoebe each tackle one of his arms to contain him while Paige pulls the girl to safety. They tell her to run away, and they tie Josh to a chair. So Phoebe is questioning Josh, and he acts like he doesn't even recognize her. And she punches him and knocks him out. She's like, haha, you don't remember me.
I'm like, how dare you not remember the amazing Phoebe?
I'm the one that got away for you too.
Right.
So then a silver goo drips out of Josh's ear and starts growing into a tube with a mouth on the end and spins into a whirlwind-like tunnel. So it's very interesting.
It's one of the weirdest descriptions of something I've heard in a long time.
I could just picture some of these like CGI moments, but
like the silver goo is probably like the Terminator liquid thing. And then it goes into like, I don't know, like worm with a mouth and then a tornado. There's a bunch happening all at once. Right.
So after this whirlwind tunnel tornado thing appears, Josh wakes up in fear and surprised to see both Phoebe and Paige is there.
So now he recognizes them. It's like, huh.
Interesting. And Josh is still tied to the chair, but he's being sucked into the tunnel. He's crying for help. And Phoebe runs to his aid. And Piper tried to grab Phoebe's leg, but Phoebe tells her no for fear of Piper also getting sucked in. So in the book, we're just seeing Phoebe and Josh get slowly sucked with this tunnel. And Piper's just like, what the hell? What do I do? So Phoebe and Josh falls into the abyss of the tunnel as the apartment and everything in it disappears. Apparently they're falling for a while. The way that they were describing it in the book was kind of like a very slow fall, which was odd to me.
Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they fall and they land in a stone chamber that looks some sort of like ancient Egyptian. And Phoebe assumes that they have time traveled after looking around, and Josh is completely confused. He's like, what the hell just happened? I wake up in my apartment and this tunnel just sucked me in, and now you're saying that we time traveled. What?
Yes, and I haven't seen you in 5 years. Okay, girl. Like,
did we do acid? What is going on?
I wanted to read what Phoebe said about time travel. I've been to Massachusetts in the 1600s and San Francisco in the 1920s. I've been possessed by an antique mobster's mole. I know the signs. So we know what she's talking about in those episodes?
Yes. Well, she also travels back in time in one of the books that was in the series as well.
Yeah.
So connecting those.
Right. It could either be that time, or I was thinking maybe All Hallows Eve.
Yes. And then in the 1920s, Pardon My Past.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't that necessarily count as time traveling?
No, not really. It's like you're switching souls.
Yeah, which is in another time, but you are physically not there. You are witnessing things.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
That's a little weird. And then the possessed by an antique mobster's mole, that was the Frankie Lulu.
Yes.
In Page from the Past.
Was that?
That was before this.
After? Okay.
That was episode 10. So this takes place between like 12 and 13. So gotcha. it was a recent thing.
Well, that's good. I do like the author in this, and I know that she's done a couple of these other novels, but she's pretty good at tying show themes or things that happened in the show.
I do appreciate, because there are a lot of show references in this book, which I'm like, okay, yeah, I like that. Where are we?
Chapter 6.
Is it me? It's me. Okay. Yes. Paige and Piper sat in silence in the now shambled apartment. They're like, all right, Phoebe got sucked in there. What just happened? We'll get her back. Okay. So they're kind of like on a mission mode now. So they get back into Piper's car, but then it's like the weekend. So all these college party people are out on the streets and they're slowing down traffic. So they're like, move, people. A
little pissy. Yeah,
I mean, I would be too if my sister just got taken away. She's like, I need to get home and figure what's happening now. So it's just more salt on the wound. And then Paige looks down the sidewalk and she recognizes one of her Kiss.com dates on the sidewalk. She's like, hey, I went on a date with him. And his name is Stuart. But he's with a girl and she notices that he's kind of being really rough with this girl. Maybe there's more demon trouble. Maybe he's like Josh. They run after them and froze the street. And they run out into the alley where they went, and they see Stuart with the same metal claw. And Paige believes that these guys are being possessed by a demon. Cool.
No coincidence is there that all these guys are just coming out with robotic-looking hands.
I know. It's crazy. Ha! I will eat your heart out with my claw. They call for Leo and ask him to orb Stuart to the manor and tie him up. So we're cut back to the past. Oh, we see a giant pyramid. Okay, we definitely are in ancient Egypt. Great. And Josh's last memory before today was his date with Paige, which was 2 days before this crazy thing happened. So he's confused, but he accepts that he's in the past. I thought he adapted pretty quickly for someone who's never seen magic before.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that he would act more concerned and confused after, Phoebe's like, yeah, you're in the past.
He's totally like, oh, yeah. He's just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll accept that. Makes sense to me.
Taking the opportunity to just experience things.
Yes, like, well, I'll roll with it.
Yeah.
And so Phoebe's like, we're in like modern clothes. We're gonna stand out. So we need to get some clothes that make sense for this time period. So she goes to like fight a man for cloth, but she goes right through him. So she's like, oh, are we like pre-ghosts? They're all invisible, no one can see them, and they go through things.
I thought that was an interesting take. They couldn't be ghosts or, move anything because they don't exist, right?
It's
so
different.
The pre-ghost term was very interesting take.
Yeah. And I've got some thoughts on that a little bit later, so
okay.
Put a pin in that. And Josh and Phoebe don't seem to have closure over their breakup because they do have a little bit of a thing. And the two of them follow a light down a stairway into an underground dungeon, and they see a woman being tied up and she's being tortured, but she's speaking a different language. They can't understand her language, but she's feisty and she's like spitting at the captors and she's like, leave me alone, you'll never get what you want out of me, whatever, that's what they assume she's saying. And then this noble king-like person appears and he spoke the name Catherine, and he shoved a ring onto her finger, and then the woman refused in silence, and the torture continued. So we kind of put two and two together that he's trying to get her to be his wife, and she's not having it.
Which who would after being like tortured?
Yeah, like, just what I want.
It's not a way to woo a woman into marrying you. Piper and Paige come home in the wee hours of the morning, and they see Stuart is bound to a chair with metal bars, and he is acting very angry because he is evil and not happy that he's tied up. And they tell Leo and Cole what happened with Phoebe. And Piper goes to the Book of Shadows, and she calls to her dead ancestors, which I pulled a quote because it really stuck out to me. She said, imagining that her mother, Grams, maybe even Prue, gazing down at her where departed witches reside. And I thought that was like, I know that in the show we refer to like, you know, Grams is flipping pages in the book, or sometimes they call upon help, right? But this is in that weird time that like, it's after Prue died. And I like those little nods to Prue.
Oh, definitely. Show. It's very fresh, and you know, it's along the lines of how do you know it wasn't someone else, you know?
Right. So the book turns to a spell to rescue a witch from points unknown, which we don't know who did it. So I like to think it's Prue.
Yes.
And they go and gather the ingredients that they needed. And Cole feels lost and useless without his powers, which is kind of a theme in the book.
And in the show too, that's pretty consistent.
Yeah. It's definitely something that's understandable for his character right now.
Yeah.
Black as coal and all of those emotions that he's having after that. And Piper is noticing this about Cole, that he's feeling kind of useless and can't really do anything because he's very distraught about what's happening to Phoebe and he wants to do something to help.
Yeah, he's like, what can I do? She's like, write down the spell.
She tries to get Cole to copy down the spell from the book, and Cole calls her sis. And that was one thing that really stuck out to me. He says, thanks for the busy work, sis. We never hear him refer to them as sis ever. And that was just weird to me, but also like kind of cute.
It's like Spirit of the Wolf when Leo goes, Inspector Morris? I'm like, ew. No, don't say that.
Cole gets in the tied Stuart's face and he's trying to scare him into talking. And
the scene.
Yeah, it's very chaotic.
Yeah.
So Cole's getting really frustrated about this guy not answering questions, and he just keeps saying like, you're gonna be sorry, and that kind of stuff, you know. And Cole backhands this guy. Which, you know, Cole can't throw fireballs or energy balls at this point. So that's what he's going to resort to. I'm surprised you didn't kick him in the nuts.
Right.
Like, so Piper is like witnessing all of this Cole breakdown, essentially. And she tells him to stop, but Cole starts beating Stuart over and over again. So as Cole is beating him, silver goo comes out of Stuart's ear. Surprise. And the portal comes up again, and Piper and Paige rush the book, and it jumps to Phoebe and Josh in the past. Phoebe feels like she has to save this Catherine woman. She's been tied up and tortured, and she's having a very difficult time because she can't really do much except witness. And Phoebe and Josh talk about their breakup, which is a very odd time to be
right. Let's go save this torture lady. Oh, let's talk about this real quick. Like,
we can't do anything, so we might as well chat.
Yeah.
While this woman's like screaming bloody murder. It's fine. I don't know how you would focus at all. But
like, what'd you say? I can't hear you over all the blood curdling screams.
Sorry, this lady's being too loud. She can't take the torture. Josh admits that he was intimidated by Phoebe when they were in their relationship, and Phoebe was upset that he shut down during the relationship at the end. He essentially thought that she was too good for him, which is kind of a really sad thought.
I know.
This poor guy. But, you know, she ends up with Cole, at least for now.
Yeah.
So it's fine. So then they're witnessing an axe being held above Catherine's neck, and Phoebe runs to save her, and she kind of just like falls through the scene. Piper and Paige we jump back.
Yeah.
Piper and Paige, they attempt to do the spell, but they can't burn anything because the wind is occurring in this weird ear whirlwind thing. And so Piper encourages Paige to orb them out with the book. Now, at this point, Paige is like fresh in her powers, so she's kind of struggling to use them. it's tying back to that point where Paige can only like orb in place,
Right. So she technically shouldn't be able to orb anywhere right now, but if she was practicing, I can probably buy that. But
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But she gets real proficient real fast in this, so I'm like that. Then it gets like way not right.
yeah, I've got a note there.
Uh-huh.
Paige orbs them, but they end up on the roof. Piper's like straddling a chimney, and Paige is holding on for dear life. And they perform the spell on the roof. What?
I know. What is happening?
Like, I know that they like to, in these books, use their magic in front of a bunch of people, which they would not be doing.
Could you imagine the neighbors looking out the window like, what are they doing?
What are they doing on the roof? It was just like, are you kidding me? Because, it's one thing to have somebody just, I don't know, checking out their shingles, but they got a giant-ass book up there. Like,
burning stuff in the air, like...
That wouldn't, cause alarm for these neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I couldn't grasp onto. It jumps back to Phoebe, and Phoebe is trying to stop Catherine's death, but her body goes through the man with the axe, and Catherine's head has been severed, which is a gruesome...
Lovely thought.
And a portal opens up in front of Phoebe and Josh, and they're sucked in, and they arrive safe and sound in the attic, and that is where we end Chapter 7.
Chapter 8. Stuart is completely nerdy now. He's like, Paige, why'd you kidnap me here? Are you a Scientologist? I hope you're not a Scientologist. Cracked me up. And then the sisters cast a memory spell on Josh and Stuart. They're like, okay, they're innocents. They've seen too much. We need to cast a memory spell, which if they have this memory spell in the back pocket, it's so inconsistent because they could have used this so many times where they don't, where they get in trouble. But
or Leo's magic dust.
Yeah.
Like, I know that they're not really supposed to use it, but, it comes in handy.
Yeah, whenever the story is convenient to have it used.
Yeah.
But once they cast the memory spell, Paige tells Stuart that she's becoming a nun. So, sorry, after a date, I had the call and I can't be with you anymore. Goodbye.
I'm just conveniently going to become a nun now.
Yes.
You would think that somebody would question some of these actions that they have as excuses, but they don't.
Like Piper in Season Nun when she's like contemplating being a nun,
Yeah.
It's like, see, they got the right idea. Yeah. Phoebe introduced Josh to Cole after he's been under the memory spell too. And it's like, yeah, here's my boyfriend. Just wanted to let you know. And then they part ways, but it was like a bittersweet goodbye because like they have that closure and you can tell they're friendly towards each other. But now it's officially over, and
Yeah, she can let him go.
Mm-hmm. And Leo asks Phoebe if she got any clues about the demon well in the past. She's like, actually, there's this chick named Catherine. I'm gonna look her up in the Book of Shadows. And she actually finds a page for it. It says Catherine of Alexandria was a princess living in 4th century Roman-occupied Egypt. The Roman emperor Maxentius demanded Catherine's hand in marriage. When the pious princess refused him, he attempted to torture her into submission. Among the devices in his arsenal was a spiked wheel, which was forever called a Catherine wheel. Finally, Maxentius beheaded the princess. From her neck flowed milk rather than blood, and immediately a chorus of angels came to steal Catherine's body away for a proper burial on Mount Sinai. Maxentius, in executing the saint, became doomed. When he died a few years later, he became the imperial demon Lupercalis. So what kind of crazy that was, too, I don't know.
Yep.
He became the imperial demon Lupercalis. And then Leo explains that Lupercalia was an ancient Valentine's Day. Cole explains that the root of lupo means wolf, and that imperial means in the ether. So if the demon can just be like floating in the wind or of the elements or whatever. And yeah, he's just not your physical normal demon.
There was some interesting things that I'll talk about probably at the end of this book.
But yeah, the group realizes that Paige is a conduit for the demon. And then Max arrives for a second date with Paige. She's like, oh, cool. So either he's going to come to tear your heart out right now, or he's about to be possessed since you're the conduit. So you're making these evil people. Let's find out what's happening with him, Paige. So they sent her off.
Paige goes to a nice brunch with Max, and Piper and Phoebe follow them, and they're in a table a few meters away, and they're just watching. And Paige adored Max and decided there was no way he could be a demon. She liked him too much. She was attached already. Max says, part of me wishes I can steal you away, or at least force you to forsake all others.
Yeah, if she says that to me, that's like one of the weirdest, creepiest things to say. I would have been like, okay, you're a demon there. But she's like, just giggles it off. I'm like, really, Paige?
You would think that they would learn by now, but they don't.
Paige is really slow because when Cole says it means wolf and his name is Maxentius, I would have been like, oh, this is Max Wolf. I would have put that two together right after that Book of Shadows page. But she's like, oh.
Didn't fit with the storyline. She couldn't be that smart.
Yeah.
But I do like the part where like Piper and Phoebe are just at the table and they're kind of like giggling and reminiscing about all the times that they were on dates with demons. And
yeah, that was a nice little sister moment. Yeah.
it was cute. And like Paige is eyeing them. And she's like, what's going on? Why are they giggling?
Yeah. It's like, are they making fun of me? Do they?
Yeah. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah.
So the bill comes and Max is signing the bill and Paige is keying in on the fact that he signs the bill Maxinius Lupercalis, and the realization hits her and she fakes her way through the rest of the day and she leaves. So the sisters return home after seeing Paige like freaking out, kind of leaving.
Yeah.
She is now certain that Max is Lupercalis, and he just shows up at the door, as they do.
Yeah, you know. Because he's probably privy that she's on to him too now, so she's like, I gotta make my move.
Yeah, and he says that he forgot his umbrella and kind of forces himself into the house, like without being invited in. And they let him in and discreetly try to formulate a plan of attack. And Max's eyes turn yellow, and he throws an energy ball at Paige, and she orbs away, which, you know, convenient power.
Mm-hmm.
Piper's exploding power bounces off Max's personal shield. There's a bunch of random powers coming from this guy. Max made Paige feel the pain of his victims, I guess, because
another one
that random connection. Since she's channeling
the conduit type of thing, there's something,
and it causes her to black out, and he escapes into this time portal. So now another gooey looking wind sucking portal appears, and that's where chapter 9 ends.
So now Paige is, knocked out. Leo and Cole come downstairs and they come to her aid. Leo heals Paige, and Cole like cuddles her heads, and he looks into her eyes. I'm like, okay.
And Cole calls Paige sis at this point too.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, again, the weird kind of thing that he never does. But
yeah. Consistent in the book at least,
Yeah.
So they come to Paige's aid, and then suddenly both Leo and Cole, they grow metal claws out of their hands too. They had that connection with Paige, and like they looked at her, and so now they grow claws and attack Piper and Phoebe. Is like, haha. So Paige is like, oh my gosh, and she orbs a metal candlestick to her, and then she's like hits Leo on the head with it and bonks him out. And Phoebe fought off Cole for using her like hayas and martial arts and stuff, but she was scratched by Cole a little bit, and Piper froze Cole, and then Paige goes to the basement. Okay, here's where things get really weird. Paige goes to the basement and calls for Cole and Leo, orbing them to the basement. This doesn't work. This isn't right.
I will say that another note that I had for that part of the chapter is as she's going down to the basement, there's kind of like a part where they're describing the contents of the basement, and they mention that Prue's photo developing equipment's down there.
The dark room was there.
Yeah, and I mean, like, after Prue died, it's not really mentioned in the show again. So I thought that was a sweet little nod.
Yeah, that is nice.
In the midst of all the crazy.
Right. Yeah. Just a little glance. So that is really nice. Thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, so she goes to the basement. She calls for Cole and Leo, orbing them one by one to the basement. And as they're still frozen, they like trap them in there. So then they close the basement door, they lock it, and they come upstairs. And then they see that the manor is now overrun with possessed men that Paige encountered. So all these dates she went on are all these crazy metal armed people attacking them. Yeah, Paige orbed the men all around. She's like, okay, I'm gonna grab you. I'm gonna orb you to the basement. I'm gonna grab you, orb you to the basement. I'm like, all right, no. You're not this adept, Paige. You can't do this.
Not yet.
Yeah, I could buy maybe one time she does it here. It's like as an attempt to practice. But this, no. And then Piper unfroze Leo. This thing. Okay. So she's like, I'm going to break him free of the spell. I'm going to tell him how much I love him and give this beautiful heartfelt speech. This cheesy ass thing.
Power of love will overcome everything.
Yes. Behold the power of love. I will get him to come back on my side. So she gives the speech to Leo, and then Leo's like softened his look. Oh, okay, Piper. And Piper told her sisters, let him come to me. We're going to kiss and hug and stuff. It'd be great. And then I love it. He's like, he won't hurt me now. It's broken. It's fine. And then Leo comes to her. He's like, who's sorry now, woman? And he attacks her. I'm like, oh, I gotta say, if that power of love thing worked, I was gonna be really mad.
Yeah, that would have been kind of a really corny way to fix everything. But I will say, in her speech, there's a couple of things that they note as like stuff in Piper and Leo's relationship that we don't know about. So one of them was she loves the way that he opens doors for her, no matter how strong her magic is. And that he wakes her up every morning with a goofy song. And I thought that was so cute.
I mean, yeah, it is cute. I would like to see that stuff.
I would love to see Leo sing a song.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, we had a little bit of a Phoebe sang ditties here and there, you know.
Yeah.
Making soup for Cole, and I've been working on a vanquish and stuff like that. But
never Leo. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be cute.
Beast. I would love to see him in anything.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 11. So more action ensues in the kitchen, and they're fighting off all of the men. One thing I think is interesting is after, Leo attacks Piper at the end of chapter 10, Paige tries to orb Leo to the basement where all the other men are, but they somehow trade out Alan, which will not happen. Like, that's not going to happen. You orb something, you're not going to get something back like that. So right. I was just like, what the hell? But more action is happening in the kitchen as they're trying to fight off, now Alan is popped out. Paige realizes that Lupercalis got to her through the computer. How did it take you that long to put that together? Kind of a theme.
Yes.
The flashes that was coming out of the computer as she was like clicking through kiss.com made her dizzy in the same way her date with Max did. So she puts those two together. They determine that Lupercalis is made out of electricity and his human form is made through a conduit, Paige.
I wonder if he's friends with a shocker demon.
They're besties, they're brothers,
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Inferior
demons can exist in Earth's orbit, electrical fields, nuclear power sources, anything that retains energy. Phoebe reminisces about being infected with the lust symbol. I do like that they're tying in another thing from San Francisco, and the sisters organize a well-thought-out plan to get Lupercalis. Phoebe and Paige go back in the past portal and are bruised by the outfall. And
see, inconsistent. Now they're corporeal. Now they're getting hurt.
Yep, I don't know. And they arrive in Max's very fancy loft in a different...
Yeah, this is like modern now. Is this the past?
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah.
So they went into a room where the air was blue jello.
Very berry flavor, I guess.
Delicious.
Yes.
And they find a giant computer chip, and Paige spontaneously made a spell that summoned Lupercalis, which I don't feel like she would be advanced enough at this point. She's still learning magic. She's not going to come up with a spell. So Lupercalis electro-shocks and reveals his massive claws, and Phoebe grabs him and waits for Piper to get them to return home through the portal, but it never comes.
Their plan is not working.
Nope.
Chapter 12. We cut a little bit before the end of this scene, so we see what Piper has been doing this whole time. And Piper finished the origin spell potion, and she gathered a mason jar to capture Lupercalis.
The author did mess up, though, in that area.
What?
So she says that during Piper's prep of the potion, she mistakenly says that Paige instead of Piper and I was like, yeah, that bothers me so much.
Yeah, I've noticed that in a couple of these books too. I'm like, I fix it in my head so I forget about it, but that's happened I forget which book it was, but it happened in another book.
I have caught several mistakes in so many books over the years that I really question whether or not editors
Really edit.
fine-tooth everything.
Yeah. So she's does the spell. She gets her jar ready because they're going to capture Lupercalis in there. And before Piper got a chance to summon Phoebe and Paige back, she's supposed to say a spell. The possessed men, they break out into the kitchen. And when she goes to freeze them, they knock her out with the door. She's out now. Great.
With how much time has passed, you would think with how many men are down in that basement.
Why would they leave her alone?
Broken down the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It is what it is.
So now we're back in the blue Jello goo stuff. And Lupercalis broke free of Phoebe and Paige's grasp and then turned himself into a giant eel. This book is so crazy.
Yeah.
He shoots like electricity balls out of his face. Like, yeah. Paige, this is another thing. Paige orbed them out. Like, what? They had to get there through a tunnel of the past or whatever, and now they're orbing out like nothing. Didn't need the spell after all. No. So they orb out, and she's in Iowa in cornfields. Yeah. And then she orbs on top of the Golden Gate Bridge.
And I like that tie-in.
I do like that. At the time this book was written, they didn't know what it was going to turn into.
Right. So it ties it in. Interesting enough, but they didn't know about it. But it wouldn't be possible for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny how that comes back to be their hangout spot in the future, you know? So maybe that's where she first discovered it. They finally arrive home in the kitchen after all the orbiting around. Paige sees all the possessed crazies men in the house, and she orbs them out to herself, and she thwacks the men with it. And then Lupercalis followed them to the manor. He emerged in his eel body again.
This visual in my head of like this form is so gross. I would hate it. I would hate it so much.
Have you ever seen like an eel in real life?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're creepy.
I don't want that in my show.
No, it's like probably swimming around in the air. Like, so that's even weirder.
Like this to me is kind of like the serpent in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
The giant one, you know, like that was the visual. I mean, I know that they're two different things. Like one's a snake and one's an eel, but like with how large Lupercalis is supposed to be, like those were the images in my head. And I was like, this is too creepy. I hate it. Yeah.
Nightmares. So Phoebe fights the eel off while Paige goes to revive Piper. She's like, I'm going to get Piper. We need the power of 3 to get the spell going and vanquish him. As she goes to Piper, she sees Leo there and he's healing her. Apparently seeing Piper lying there broken free. Which, okay, I'm not as mad about that. You know, that makes sense. Kind of like a selfless act with the sin ball type of. It's similar kind of concept. And so Lupercalis shot out an energy ball, and Paige threw the potion they made at it, and so the potion hit the energy ball, and it caused the energy ball to reverse and fly back into Lupercalis, and it made Lupercalis burst into like silvery cloud dust. He's inferior, so he's not dead. He's just in the ether air now. And so then they say a spell. The spell causes the cloud to be sucked into the little mason jar. And then they stick a label on it. It says, Revenge Demon, do not open ever. And they place it in the pantry. I wonder if that's ever going to get out again.
I don't understand how this was a fix. Because obviously something's going to happen. Like later on.
Yeah. I just imagine Wyatt coming up in the future like, what's this, mommy? Yeah. Sorry.
It's a great plan, girls.
Yeah.
Then we jump to the epilogue. Phoebe wakes Cole with a giant chocolate kiss and breakfast because it's Valentine's Day. And that kind of just reminded me, and you're going to have to, because I know that you are more inclined to know exactly when this happened, because I can picture the scene in my head. But you know, when Leo orbs in and he has the giant chocolate kiss and Piper goes, oh, honey, not now. You know, there's at one point in the show, and I can't think of it.
You know what? I can't remember that either. I mean, I remember, but I can't remember which episode it is. That's like, so it's one of those reminder things.
Mm-hmm. And as I was like writing down all this stuff, I was trying to think of where it was. And I even started like going through some of the episodes, trying to remember, and I can't place it.
Yeah, I remember him having it. I think it's season 3.
I can't remember.
He's wearing a yellow shirt, right? Investigation.
You're going to have to figure it out for me.
Yes. Okay, I'll let you know.
So Phoebe tells Cole what happened with Josh and why it's Cole that she chooses to be with and why she is grateful for him. Because he's not afraid of her being a witch and being powerful and all the things that come with that. And
make her, you know.
Exactly. And I did think that it was really cute. There was a cute little moment where Cole like grabs up all these rose petals and like puts them over Phoebe's head. It's a nice little playful interaction. And it kind of reminds me of Piper's wedding day.
Yeah, Prue and just Harry.
And the two of them go downstairs and they catch Piper and Leo being romantic in their PJs downstairs. Then Paige comes down and she's surprisingly chipper. After all this ordeal with all of these dates and the fact that she was so desperate to have somebody for Valentine's Day, now she's with nobody. And they're super shocked that she's in a good mood. And Paige gets a bunch of flowers at the door and she has been going out on nude dates with these guys, the guys that were demons, and has been enjoying them all. So she's playing the field again. She's
Sweetie. I guess it's Sweetie now.
Sweetie.
Yeah.
Again, Sweetie, who the hell is this cat? And she prepares to go to the vet where she will see another one of her dates, assumingly the guy that gave her the coupons to get her cat neutered.
Yes.
I'm very upset about the Sweetie situation.
I am too. I can't believe I didn't realize that. So that's the end of the book. Do you have any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts.
Yes, let's hear them.
Again, I did like that the author tied in a bunch of stuff from, the show and kind of kept Prue alive in a way. I don't understand this demon at all. I don't understand, how he has this tornado goo power, but he also can shape shift into eels, and he's got yellow eyes, and he's got these, electrical powers, but he could also have this connection with Paige as a conduit. I don't understand any of it.
It's a lot. It's wild.
I did enjoy seeing Paige kind of go out on these different dates, although to me, what didn't make any sense is in the back of the book, in the summary of the book.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different than...
Yeah, because it says that she doesn't go on these dates. It says she's in a catatonic state, but she literally is going on these dates. She just doesn't have any connection, any real...
Right. It didn't make sense, those two together. So I liked reading the book as far as just getting a little bit more into the personal lives of the girls. I didn't enjoy the storyline of the demon.
How does this compare to Kiss of Darkness?
I will say that I didn't get as upset about them being stupid about things.
True, yeah.
While it did take a little bit of time for them to connect things, it wasn't as in their face the whole time. So it would rank higher, in my opinion, than Kiss of Darkness.
I could forgive them a little bit for being a little out of it just because there's so much more crazy happening. With Kiss of Darkness, it was just kind of Prue, and it's really the only thing that was happening, and it's easier to focus on. So for me, overall, this book was quite action-packed and wild, so it certainly wasn't bored with it.
Right.
I would have liked something more sentimental, maybe, because I usually like a little bit more heart that isn't as superficial, because there's a lot of superficial things in here. And it did feel very similar to The Garden of Evil, the last book, with Paige and the dates and which I suppose is fair considering the timing of when this takes place, but it is a lot of evil Paige romance back to back.
We could have switched it up, guys.
But yeah, I did appreciate the references back to the series. Let's see what other notes I have. Paige and Phoebe both called Piper Ma. Was super weird to me too.
Which was also, a factor in Piper feeling old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I look like a man to you?
Right?
I said I was confused by the pre-ghost versus corporeal thing because the same author wrote Soul of the Bride, and I had problems with that too because she had the spirit sucked into the camera, but was it wasn't consistent and it confused me. And I think she's had the same problems with this. And she did kind of recycle themes from that book where Prue sent Piper to Mount Olympus and she had to say a spell to call her back. And then, okay, you need to branch out a little bit more, Elizabeth.
She said it was good for that one, so I might as well reuse it.
Oh, Piper said something about her being half human earlier, which irked me a little bit because while witches are magical, they are still human.
Right.
Right. I can see Paige being called half-breed because white letter and human or white letter and witch, that makes sense. But to say I'm only half human, then it's it, right? Why didn't any of the men kill Piper when she was knocked out alone on the floor?
We had to keep the power of three intact.
We had to keep the power of three, but it's they're just running around the house. And so essentially the demon's only goal in this book was to get revenge on women because he was rejected. So real mature.
Right.
I was thinking maybe they didn't actually go into the past.
I think they were just sucked into the computer.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of a virtual world, a virtual version of his past, but it wasn't the real past. Right. That's what makes more sense to me.
That's what I was thinking too, because it didn't make any sense the other way of it being sucked in the past.
And then the fact that they went to the same portal and then they end up in a modern apartment, these are all just files on his computer. So I wish they would have made that more clear. I do have canonical stuff, so stuff that could tie back into the series. So I'll put that in my canonical hat.
Canonical.
Probably talked about some of them already, but what was wrong with it? Sweetie for one. But
Sweetie was a big problem. I know that that's a very tiny thing for people, but it was a big problem for me because it was inconsistent.
Yeah.
It was not Kit.
It was not Kit.
And I'm highly offended.
Yeah. Why would you have a new cat?
Yeah. Like, y'all don't get a new pet. Stop it. One thing that I did feel like we lacked a little bit was the time in between, Cole losing his powers and becoming the Source. I know that we got a little bit of time, but not as much as I would have liked seeing.
So this gives it a little bit more of something. Yeah, that is good. Yeah. I don't think I would have liked this as an episode other than maybe finding out if Jason Dean is responsible for Kiss.com. Like, did he invent this?
Right?
If he
had some ties in this stuff.
Yes, if he started all this online dating, is this some demon takeover of his website? That would have been cool to find out. We've seen crazed men around the house already in Dream Sorcerer, so wouldn't need that. And we do already have the Celerity demons with the blade claws. So there's a lot of stuff that we did see kind of versions of. But I did enjoy the ride as a read.
It was definitely not boring. I ate it up pretty quickly. So
the book said Grams was married and divorced 6 times, which isn't quite right. She was married 4 times and engaged 6 times.
When the hell did she have time to date all these men or marry them? And what the hell did she do, for a job that would allow her to afford the manor?
Yeah.
Because I know things are very expensive in California. And they said that, Grams was a seamstress at one point. Are you a seamstress to the stars? How are you making this much money?
I was thinking about when Kit ran away in season 3. They didn't look for Kit at all after it ran away. In season 1, when Kit was missing for a little bit, they put up posters, they put up flyers, and now Kit's gone and we don't care anymore.
They just let her go.
Maybe they just got so wrapped up in their personal lives at that point. They're it's what Kit wants. Oh, Phoebe says that Piperson was greed, which was wrong.
Mm-hmm. It was gluttony.
She had gluttony in it, so there's that. Okay, now we will do our rhyme time.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Brew.
Wonderful. Witty, but wordy. I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
So the origin potion, the ingredients are 5 mustard seeds and Eye of Newt, used to send a demon's energy ball back at him and expel his corporeal form. After adding 5 mustard seeds, wait 5 seconds. The potion will erupt in pink goo.
Not silver.
Yeah, not silver. We had enough of that color. Then recede and turn brackish green, and finally corpse blue. Once the change is finished, add the Eye of Newt. Let the potion simmer for 30 seconds.
Ta-da.
To erase a memory. Let memories of these events cease to even be past tense. Wipe the slate as clean as air. Let no recollection haunt them ne'er. It was a little bit more rhymey, especially than the one on the back.
Sure. Oh, sure. Yeah.
But it becomes a little tongue twisty at the end.
It's a little awkward.
Yeah.
It's just awkward. I mean, I get the rhymes and I get them. So I do appreciate that, but it's just a little awkward. I don't know if it's the syllables in them.
Not my favorite.
And that was the one they used on the Josh and Stewart. To rescue a witch from points unknown. Ingredients: burn arrowroot, sage, suet, mustard seed, millet, and a few other herbs while reciting the spell. There must be a portal formed from one dimension to the next. Portals open at the exact same moment of sunset or dawn or midnight on a full moon, and at the first harvesting of millet or barley. Oh my gosh. So they were really lucky that there was already one open, because otherwise they would have to wait for one of these times. Our sister lies in points unknown. Restore her to her loving home. Bring her back and please intact. Put an end to her aimless roam. That does sound like a nice poem. I mean, I'm not offended by the rhymes, just the situations that are needed.
There's a long list of things that you've got to make sure you got right?
But yeah, that's a fun one to say. I do like the rhymes in that one.
To summon Lupercalis. Give us this soul, brimming with malice. Bring before us Lupercalis, which is the one that Paige came up
Made
with
up
on the
with.
spot. Which, you know, it was nice, short and sweet, which I could see her maybe doing it. But in all actuality, I don't think that like her spell game would be as strong at that point. So
Yeah, but it does the job. It's not bad. It works.
yeah.
The last one is to banish Lupercalis, and this was the one after they did this potion to throw the energy ball back him, and this is the spell to suck his thing into the jar, his essence into the jar. Lupercalis, vengeful soul, we bind you from your evil goal. Through Catherine's will and our charmed power, let this be your last cruel hour. That seems like something that would appear on the show. It seems like a very charmed spell to me.
Yeah, I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want it in my book? Probably not.
Right. Because it's very specific to something that I don't really care about, but
But I could see it, possibly something that they would come up with on the spot, or like a new spell. It wouldn't be, I don't think it'd be something that would be within the book already.
yeah, it's something that they would have to write themselves. Best Betty rankings. I'm not going to go through them all right now, but I'm going to tell you where I put Lupercalis. He is going to be kind of middle near the end for me. Right now right now he's number 7 out of 10. So with this demon, we do have officially 10 on the list, and he is number 7. Underneath him, I have the Possessor Demon and Call from Spirit of the Wolf, because those weren't very exciting demons. And then Applicum, because he was a bit player. So those ones, this guy had more screen time, but he's my least of the more mainstream demons, least favorite. And now we're going to do our 10 things. 10 to 10. Here's 10 things. Our fun little discussion of top 5 men from Charmed that we love to hate. These are characters that we can either hate so much that we love to make fun of them, or it's a character that is a bad guy that's still entertaining to watch, so it's somebody that we should not like, or maybe a man that may not be so bad, but just one you don't root for. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay. My number 5 is Kyle Brody.
Okay. Yes.
I'm not a fan. I think that he becomes really whiny and too obsessive. I get that, like, in the end, he was doing it for what he thought was good things, you know, but I hated his character, and we're supposed to kind of like him as a Paige love interest, but I can't get down with Kyle Brody.
Mm-hmm. He's on my list too. My number 5 this is a 1 episode character, Cirque from 6 Feet Under, the demon, because, you know, he's awful, but I love watching him. He's so cool. I love the half demon face, and I love that he's going around killing his family. He's cool, and it was entertaining to watch. So, like, I hate him. He's evil, but I really enjoyed his episode. Number 4.
We're going back with a Paige love interest, because there was a lot of them that she had that I didn't like. Is Richard Montana.
Yeah, I didn't.
I don't know what is up with the characters that they pull in for Paige, but I can't connect with them on like a level in which I enjoy them. Richard, I thought would be a good character for her because he was magical at first, but then it just became, because of the issues that him and his family had, he became so controlling and then obsessed with magic, and
another obsessed crazy person.
I can't deal. He was too down Paige's throat on a lot of things, and became one of those that was like trying to shower her with things rather than show that he actually cared. It's like trying to buy her love, you know. Wanted her to have like a magical love interest because Paige enjoys magic so much. I thought that would be great. Although Henry does kind of balance her out, you know, it's fine. We didn't get to see as much of them together as I would like. Everything
was kind of rushed that season.
Yeah.
Really. My number 4 is Roger. Because he's so awful. He is like one of the most despicable people in the whole series, but I love watching him get his comeuppance, and I love like Prue like really like how she fights back with him. Just to see her like really tell him off is so satisfying.
It would be interesting to see like what she actually liked in Roger.
I know. I'm like, I can't see anything.
It sparked because they worked together. That's it.
Right. But you would think his true colors would have come out sometime before they got engaged.
Some people are good at hiding their crazy, though.
I guess.
My number 3 is Zanku. I know that he's a bad guy, but he's very entertaining to watch. He's also not bad looking, which is also a plus. But I like the way that he's able to kind of get inside of the girls' heads, and kind of he's able to kind of build up on all of these things that all of these other demon comrades have discovered in the past. but then put new twists on things. So it just became really entertaining with him. So it was when they turned him into
a pig.
That was my favorite part. He's trying to recite the spell as a pig, and he's just learning. I love that.
Yeah, it's super goofy. I love it. He's not on my list, but I did seriously consider him. My number 3 is Kyle. He's not nice. He's too obsessive. Even when he learns that the avatars aren't the problem, aren't the murderers, he still wants to kill them. Like, wake up a little bit. I enjoy Kerr Smith. I like him as an actor, and I liked him on screen, but his character was just insufferable.
The only time that I like Kyle is in
Trump Noir.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is the only time. And I think it's just because we're not focusing on the Kyle storyline. And we get to see, Paige and all of her pin up, and it's great.
Number 2.
For me is going to be Cole / Balthazar. I am not one that is a huge Phoebe Cole stan. There are some toxic things in that relationship. We won't get into it. But the storyline between the two, because he is a reoccurring character and they go so far in depth, I love to hate him just because it is entertaining. But am I kind of glad that they're not in game? Yes, I know that I will get hate for that. But I didn't think that their relationship should be. Unless Cole was able to stay human during that time. There was that point where I was like, okay, this is going to work, right?
Yeah, right.
And then he was sucked back into the evilness. And I really don't feel like even if, he were to not be the source again and, he came back, I feel like he would always have to have some magical part of him. And it just doesn't work. He
can't shake the feeling of wanting power and wanting to be in control of certain situations. Mm-hmm. So
unless he was able to fix that about himself, it couldn't work. But I love him as a character.
Mm-hmm. My number 2 is Coop. I love Coop. I really do enjoy him. But again, he was severely rushed. And I think if he got the proper arc that Cole did, it would have been much more fun to love him. But I think because we get so little of him, he seems to just not really there and not really a true reason to. I don't know.
I get it. I understand, and I think in my head I've just established their relationship.
You kind of had hindsight of what it was going to be, and
yeah, they did rush it. I did think that they had some really cute moments, in the that they had, but I really do wish that we could see more of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do really love Victor Webster. He's great. He's charismatic, and he's pretty to look at too. And so
he does remind me kind of Drake in a way.
See, I love Coop. I think it's hate him for the situation that we had him in.
Yeah, I understand.
So not his fault, but the narrative fault.
So my top number 1, Barbas.
Okay.
He is a bad guy, but he is my favorite bad guy. I love his character in the show, and because he's one of those reoccurring roles, I love to see how he plays the character every time. But R.I.P. But I loved his character in the show, and he was a good bad guy that you're supposed to hate, but you love to hate.
Okay, cool. My number 1 is Dan.
Oh, Dan.
Because, he's a good guy. I feel bad for him, but he's not the one we root for. It's always going to be a Team Leo. And so he really got the short end of the stick in that relationship. But he should have good things in life. So we hate him, but he shouldn't need to be hated. It's a weird kind of conundrum.
It's weird because while you and I are kind of on the same page of, Dan was kind of this side character just to kind of divert the Piper Leo situation. There are people that wanted Piper to be in game with Dan.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't think that it would work at all because Dan was so against the magic when he was terrified. And granted, there wasn't a lot of time between him finding out versus their ending of things. But I don't know that he would ever be able to cope with it. That's not something he wanted to invite in his life. Mm-hmm. So,
it's very much what Jason was like. That's why he's I can't.
Yep. I liked Dan as a character on some levels, except when he started becoming obsessive about Leo.
Yeah, that's when it's well, this is a turn.
Yeah. he became an instigator and was just looking to fight somebody, and I could see him for a minute. But
yeah.
I can see why he's on your list.
Dan is the victor in that situation. Here's White Letter, here's Leo, here's Sam stealing this girl. And it's interesting to think because, like in the past, her past life married his past life and made Graham's. So it's like, what? Yeah, it's so interesting, these parallels.
Right. And see, I really wish, again, that we could go back in time and see the things play out between Patty and Victor too, because he did deal with the magic. Obviously, they like to say that Graham's chased him off, but why would she chase him off after that long of being in it? It doesn't make sense, in my opinion.
We there's a lot of pieces we don't know. There's a lot that we need more elaboration on.
Yeah.
So, and that's why a past spin-off series would have been so good. All right. So that's cool. Now our last thing is the tip for future White Letters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
What's your moral?
Let's try to wrap up a demon that makes sense to its powers. That would be my number one note. But also, I feel like a good note for the story or moral is, number one, be careful of the people that you are out on dates with because you don't know who they are. She did go around the corner with Josh after he just pops out of nowhere. Be cautious, be safe, be smart, stay alive kind of situation.
My tip is kind of ties into that. I said, perhaps playing the field isn't always the easiest thing to manage. And while it works for some, it has potential to backfire. So, yes, where can the people find you? I know you've got lots going on now.
Yes. So my Instagram for my collection is charmcollector1329. And on that, I post my collection, pictures of it. But I also try to link to things that will help other people build up their collections, because I know that a lot of the stuff, especially for our fandom, is hard to find. So I try to help people as much as I can, if I can.
Yes. And
there are several things that it's impossible for me to help. It just pops up out of nowhere,
Yeah, some things are very rare and some things are easier, but it's nice that you are becoming a resource for fans. So that's awesome.
I decided to open this account not only to try to help, but also connect with the other fans, because I enjoy it a lot. And I've made several friends over my account. So if anybody ever wants to chat with me, all things Charmed, or even, whatever you've got going on, I'm completely down for it. And in my personal account, although I don't really post on that, if you wanted to, I'm also on Facebook, but is Brittany Rossetti. On Instagram, it's Brittany17, and it's Britany. I'm a weird one.
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad that you came back. It's always a pleasure. It's always awesome talking to you. I love it.
Yes, and I'm 100% down to come back anytime you need me.
Okay.
I now have a complete collection of the books, so we don't have to scrounge around for them again.
We'll be ready. We'll be ready. And you can follow the podcast at Words of the Witches. Same thing. Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Most of my stuff is Instagram. That's the most primary one. So if you want to be in the loop, go there. And then you can find my personal one at KGZ87 and follow my other podcast, Hanging with the Hallowells. See you next time. Your destiny still awaits.